Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago, where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. The eco-supremacists have another target. Nobel laureate in physics, John Clauser. He won the Nobel Prize in 2022 for experiments with entangled photons, establishing the violation of Bell inequalities, and pioneering quantum information science.
How did you know I was just jonesing to talk about
We're going to discuss that in the after show that we do.
Oh,
have a little round table on entangled photons. So
I love Entangled Photons.
catch
That
that
should be the name
online.
of a band,
That's
Entangled Photons.
That's on Morning Answer Extra. Okay.
Which isn't a thing, by the way, so don't email us. Say,
Not yet.
Where can I find that?
So this Nobel laureate in physics, John Clauser, has said the climate emergency narrative is a I'm quoting him, dangerous corruption of science that threatens the world's economy and the well-being of billions of people. He was scheduled to give a talk before the International Monetary Fund's Independent Evaluation Office. That's a fun group. Entitled, Let's Talk, How Much Can We Trust IPCC Climate Predictions?
I sense they're going to be Kappas later on in life.
Yeah. A lot of your sorority sisters.
It's in their wheelhouse.
Were
for sure.
attending.
Uh-huh.
Of course, he's talking about International Panel on Climate Control, the climate change, the UN affiliated group of busybodies. That got canceled. He also observed that misguided climate science has metastasized, quoting him, metastasized into massive shock journalistic pseudoscience. In my opinion, there is no real climate crisis. I'm old enough to remember when we were supposed to believe the experts. Not here. Not when the experts break from political orthodoxy, as we all know. 1998 Nobel laureate Professor Robert Laughlin has expressed the view the climate is beyond our power to control and humanity cannot and should not do anything to respond to climate change. Another Nobel laureate, Ivar Gayever, is also a signatory, is the lead signatory of the World Climate Declaration that states there's no climate emergency. But that's not what Hillary Clinton says. Hillary Clinton's been looking at the weather, some of the weather reports out of Arizona, and she says we're on fire and de-elect all those MAGA Republicans.
She's a meteorologist now, right? I love how when it's hot in Arizona because it's the desert and it's the summer, which I know this is 24 days. That is a long, long stretch. Yes, it's beating the record that was made in 1974. But this happens, and they're associating it
Not just
with Republicans and
1974.
climate change.
It's the hottest in 125,000 years, according to Ilhan Omar, who has data that nobody else has, apparently.
Because we didn't start tracking weather data until the 1890s.
In Steve Moore's Unleashed Prosperity newsletter, which is always informative, talking about the Biden administration going after washing machines and dishwashers and hot water heaters and cars and stoves, your wardrobe, your Barca lounger. Get a generator. The grid is no longer reliable. Is that too much hyperventilation? Well, let's ask him. Steve Moore, economist, author of Govzilla. Steve, thanks for joining us.
Hey, guys, good morning. And by the way, I was listening to that conversation you guys were just having. You know, this is so dangerous what's going on right now. I mean, we kind of laugh about it, but there was a poll that just came out. It'll be in today's hotline. You haven't received it yet, but, you know, a majority, 70% of Democrats, 70% now say it is the government's responsibility to shut down misinformation. 70%. I mean, our First Amendment rights are the most basic and cherished rights that we have as Americans. I don't even know if these Democrats even know what the First Amendment is, but they want the government to shut down people like John Clauser because they disagree, because it's, quote, misinformation. Lord knows, by the way, who are the speech police will be who are going to determine. By the way, how much longer is the Dan and Amy show going to be allowed to be on the air?
Well,
you guys spread so much misinformation. I
Yeah.
mean, come on, you're not taking the party line here. We need to put a muzzle on the both of you and stop saying the things you're saying. By the way, I'm joking, but this is very serious. Nobody understands the First Amendment. Even almost half of Republicans want the government to stop misinformation. It's outrageous. You have the right in America to say it. I have the right to offend you guys. Did you know that? I have the right to offend you with my speech.
And that's okay. We'll let you do it.
Well, I mean, yeah, sometimes those questions are a little misleading, and I think it leads people down. They're trying to lead people down to that conclusion.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
you say like, people hear that misinformation's bad. Yeah, we should eliminate misinformation. But if you say, wait a second, you want to silence people you disagree with? No, I don't want to do that. I just want to eliminate misinformation. It's that people are, some people are not.
Yeah, I hope
thoughtful.
you're right. I mean, I hope you're right about that. But these by the way, the people according to that poll that are most likely to want to shut down, quote, misinformation are young people, the kids. They're like young Stalinists. They're being taught in school, we can't tolerate any kind of opinion. Remember the whole idea, Amy, of these, what do they call them, safe spaces for
Safe
the kids?
spaces.
So
Yeah, like the buddy bench, all that,
Yeah, I don't want to hear anything that might offend me. Oh, my gosh, and they huddle in the corner in the fetal position. I mean, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, but then our
with
government is scaring them. If it wasn't COVID, now it's on climate change. I mean, they canceled football practice yesterday at almost all CPS schools because of the wildfire smoke coming from Canada, which it wasn't even foggy or hazy outside. So, I mean, first it's COVID shutdowns, and now it's going to be that.
Oh, by the way, on that, you mentioned the wildfires in Canada. Those are emitting more carbon in the atmosphere than like every, like all the oil and gas fields. So maybe instead of shutting down American energy, Dan, maybe we just have better forest management so we don't have these forest fires emitting. Same thing, it's unbelievable.
Why didn't they have controlled burns? Why?
Exactly. Or why don't they do something, 1/100th of the cost? Then no, but they'd rather force everybody to buy an electric vehicle, and everybody has to have solar panels and blah blah blah. And I don't know, these people are pretty nuts.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't want to call into question the competency of Justin Trudeau, of course, but I do. I don't want to get your question. The question I asked.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is it? It's really time to get a generator. The grid is no longer reliable.
Yeah. So this was based on. Yeah, I do. I really do. And I'm not joking here, folks. You should get a generator because this electric grid system is extraordinarily vulnerable to blackouts and brownouts. And anybody who's lived in California in the last few years knows that you're having blackouts and brownouts that are pretty routine there. And there was an article, you may have seen it, Dan and Amy, in the Los Angeles Times the other day saying maybe we need to have routine blackouts and brownouts to deal with climate change. So they're even admitting, hey, you know how we're going to solve climate change? We're going to shut off your lights. We're going to shut off your electricity. And by the way, it's because we have electricity. This is a statistic that I know that both of you and Amy know. But the number of people who die from heat, extreme weather events, whether it's extreme heat like many states are having now, or extreme cold, the percentage of people who die is infinitesimal compared to the number 100 years ago or 500 years. Now, I'm not really sure what it was in 90,000 BC.
Ask Ilhan Omar.
So I can't claim that one. But, so you're going to shut down people's electricity during a heat wave? or a polar vortex, people are going to die.
Now we do see a little bit of backtracking. It's very, very tepid, but still a little bit of backtracking from some in the West. We saw a little bit of backtracking on nuclear power, meaning not shutting down nuclear reactors in Germany. We're seeing a little bit of backtracking about eliminating fossil-fueled cars in England from Sunak.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there is a backlash against this because the people are saying policies that would do so much damage to society. But yes, I do think that the electric grid system is vulnerable. And the reason the system is vulnerable is that the left, listen to Joe Biden. I mean, he's the president of the United States. He wants to stop the production of coal and natural gas in the electric grid system. Now, folks, we get 65% of our electricity from natural gas and coal. So really, you're going to shut that down? Yes, there will be blackouts and brownouts, and you're going to try to charge your cell phone, Susie, and guess what? Nothing's going to come out of the wall. No electric power because they've shut down coal, they've shut down oil, they've shut down gas. They won't build new. Now, you're right. There's a little movement on nuclear power, but not a whole lot. We've built like 2 nuclear power plants in the last 40 years. And by the way, more people have died from lithium battery accidents in the last year than have died in the last 40 years from nuclear power.
I noticed you also had this chart just talking about employment state by state, and I noticed that the job numbers over the last 3 years, the number of jobs created, decidedly in red states as compared to blue states, which is not surprising. What about this? Because we're dealing with a big spread in terms of white and black unemployment in Chicago. We're also dealing with a big spread in terms of youth unemployment as compared to unemployment numbers for people that are a little bit older. I think China has got a solution for us, especially because Brandon Johnson, the newly elected mayor, is looking at jobs programs, full-year jobs programs for our youth, get them on the straight and narrow. Return young adults to being full-time children and pay them for it. Working for her parents full-time, that's a new job of one mother of 2 who was struggling with her work childcare balance. So she just went back to being a full-time daughter, spending time with her parents, and they're paying her $1,100 a month in order to be a full-time child.
Where's that money coming from?
I believe that's coming from the magnificence of the Chinese Communist Party.
Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, what is your minimum wage there in Chicago?
It's
It's
in the city. It's
$112.
It's $15.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
going to 18.
You want to get more young people into jobs? It's pretty simple, folks. You have a teen minimum wage of maybe $9 an hour, and you'll see a lot more young people getting jobs. It's that simple. Why can't we have a teen minimum wage, by the way? I mean, it's important. My first job, as I've told you guys, was working out in Northbrook in a warehouse, and you learn so much. I was 17 years old or something like that. You learn so much on your first job. One of the things I learned is I don't want to spend the rest of my life working in a warehouse. But it's good to learn that lesson at 17 rather than 25.
Well, maybe when you're 25, you become a full-time son or daughter, and then you learn you don't want to spend your life with your parents. Maybe at some point maybe that's the way to get them to leave the nest. Steve Moore, economist, author of Govzilla. Steve, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Okay, guys, have a great week. Take care.
Thanks. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
Are you turning 65 and thinking about Medicare? Or are you over 65 and haven't enrolled yet because you still have coverage at work? Either way, Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have. Imagine having nationwide access with an annual deductible of only $226. There are only 2 good things about aging: wisdom